everyone. In this video we're going to look at getting our matte plate image and expanding it out and doing some concept sketches of what we intend to do for our matte painting. So here's my image here. I've got my grid, and remember your grid should be easily accessible, so when it comes to actually adding your assets that it all aligns correctly. But I'm going to turn that off for now. I'm going to look at my image and I need to make some decisions on where I want to take this, and it's going to depend on everything from your time period to genre and environmental factors and everything that's supposed to be aligning this to your project or concept. And what I'm kind of thinking with this one is actually doing a sort of mid-desert sort of feel. I'm going to turn this warehouse into, I think, like a truck stop diner out in the middle of nowhere. But they're also hoarding fuel and water and stuff like that. It's a big desert area. So one of the things I'm going to consider is camera moves. So I'm going to actually jump to my crop tool. Remember, shortcut is C for crop tool. And I'm just going to expand out my canvas. So I'm just going to stretch that out. I want a bit more width on it as well. Make sure you move the canvas, not the image. And you can move all this around. You can rotate it as well if need be. And all the rest of that. So I'm not going to go overboard with this at the moment, but we can expand and stretch our canvas out at later points and apply that by hitting enter or the tick key, or you can cancel that by pressing escape or hit the cross key. Now one thing to remember is check your image size. So get your image size right there. Let's see if we can do that again. Sorry, I've just jumped into the crop tool. Image size, and there we got our image. We can already see it's getting quite large. We're at about 6,000 pixels by about 4,000 pixels. So it's already getting up. As you start expanding out your image, it will get bigger and bigger. And you can see down the bottom, we're currently running at 81.4 meg / 173 meg. So already getting pretty big, and we haven't actually added any assets yet. So be cautious of that. If you really do need to, if it's going out of control, and say you're only working at HD, you can manually type in some new numbers for this. So I can type in 4,000. As long as if that chain's linked there, it's going to link the aspect ratio as well. So I'm going to cancel out of that. So here's my new canvas. I'm going to create a brand new layer up the top here, and this is going to be my concept sketch. So I'm going to name it that. Concept sketch. Awesome. I'm going to be using the brush tool for this. So B for brush. It's going to bring up my brush tool, and I'm going to use that for drawing my concepts. Now I'm going to select a color that's going to stand out. This does not need to be in good detail. This is just planning out what we want. Also select a brush that's going to work for you. I'm going to go with hard round pressure size. I'm using a drawing tablet, so that's going to be useful. Also, don't get your brush too big. If it's a big chunky brush, it's just going to look messy. Get yourself something that's going to be reasonable size. Remember, you can use these square brackets on your keyboard next to the letter P. You can also, there's a bunch of control clicks, or you can manually click and adjust your size. But get something that's going to work for you for this concept. So one of the big things I'm going to do is I'm actually going to isolate just this warehouse section. So I might keep some of that other area, but all I really want is this warehouse. The rest of this stuff I'm going to remove and replace. So I'm going to get maybe some low-hanging haze and clouds and stuff like that. You can change out your brush as required if you change the color. Also, this let's erase some of this stuff. This tarmac area, opacity's down on my brush, so it's not doing much. This tarmac area, I don't really want to keep all of this. I do want to keep some of it, however. So what I'm going to think of doing is basically creating this as sort of becomes broken up, and then the desert is encroaching. So I might change this out to like an orange color. I'm going to have a more orange through. So desert. So write stuff down. Sky replacement. So that's already kind of giving me an idea of what I want to clean up and what I want to keep. These power lines could be interesting. So, do I want to keep that or add these? They could be a little bit tricky to keep out, and also I don't really want the power lines, so they'll be all busted up and all the rest of it. So with that in mind, just erase that bit, is what else do I really want to do with this? So this is going to be desert. We're going to replace the sky. Fantastic. Well, I'm thinking for this I might add something like a big water tower. So let's switch back to my brush. So I'm thinking like these big spherical water towers, or something like that. We can play with that, so that whoever's staying at this place is hoarding fuel and water and whatever else they need to hoard in this sort of thing. Now, if it's going to be post-apocalyptical, I'm going to dare say they're going to need some guard towers. So I might add some guard towers. Now, if you need to use your perspective grid, great, but this is just a concept at this point. Now, to make this even more fun, what I'm thinking of doing is also turning it into a diner. So whatever they're hoarding, they want to protect, but they also are running a enterprise. So I'm thinking of maybe doing something like having a big sort of flashing neon sign up the top with something advertising, and maybe some more signage and stuff like that. That's going to be really exciting for when we do our lighting concepts. Obviously I need an entrance for this, so I'm thinking maybe over here we can have like a saloon sort of setup, and maybe some sort of guard sentry guns or something fun like that out the front. So if your drawings aren't really making such visual sense, as long as if you know what's going on, and write it down if need be. If you need to use the text tool, T for text, you can, and you can sketch in your ideas there. I also had the idea of adding like some sea containers and other found objects, so sea containers, etc., and maybe extending this out a little bit. So flashing lights, I might do something clever with the lighting, have a few missing bulbs and stuff like that. So while we're talking about that, let's start talking about animated and video assets for your matte painting. Actually, another one I might add is like a car body or a tank body or something like that that's just sort of busted, and maybe even a few trucks or something, post-apocalyptic trucks. So it's like a truck stop, and maybe a petrol Bowser out the front, so, or a couple of those, so they're fueling up places. So, but everything's sort of busted up and all the rest of it, and maybe some scorched sky and whatever else. So we're just getting ideas down for that, and you can spend a bit of time, and you can do multiple concepts for that. It's really up to you. But the one thing I really want to talk about is adding video assets to this. So I'm actually going to create a new layer, and let's quickly select another color that's going to sort of jump out. Let's use green, and this is just to address that sort of thing. So if you are going to have aspects that are going to be animatable or video assets, you need to be aware of this. So for example, if I was going to have this surrounded by water, for example, like rough seas or something like that, I can't have that as a still image in my matte painting, because it's close up and people are going to notice that it's not moving, and it should be moving. So things like people, if they're supposed to be moving, vehicles if they're supposed to be moving, smoke if they're supposed to be moving. As far as clouds going, clouds close up, you will probably notice movement more than clouds in the distance. They're probably not going to be appear to be moving as much. So the further we get, the less we really need to worry about that movement. It's kind of like a parallax sort of thing. If you pass by someone close by, they will go in and out of your vision really quickly. Whereas if someone's in the distance walking along, they're going to take ages to appear to walk from one end to the other. So that should hopefully make sense. But assets that I can control, you may wish to start noting them in. So this flashing neon light, one here maybe. So any sort of flashing lights, I can probably add those in later as a video element. If I have an exhaust that's got smoke coming out of it or something like that, that smoke needs to be a video element that I'm going to add after. So don't build the smoke into your matte painting. Just keep it mindful. You could build the smokestack, for example, and then later on we can add the smoke in there. But be aware of limitations of this, and also how you're going to mask and apply it to your image and all the rest of it. So best practice is sort of design your matte without moving assets, but keep them in mind if you are going to use them as a simple way of doing it. If you really want to get technical, you can actually start off with your matte as a video layer, but once again, start thinking about complexities when it comes to doing that. Once that's all done and dusted, you should hopefully have, if they're in multiple layers, I'm going to shift select both of those and drop them into a group folder, and let's rename this concept, and you can add to those or turn them on and off as required. And now we've got a starting point. We can go, all right, well, what am I doing? And you can start finding your assets and applying them to your matte painting, and hopefully you end up with something that's going to be at least a starting point for where your end product might be. It might change. You might not be able to find the assets you want. Your concepts might change slightly, but this is a good start. All right, we'll catch you later.